Is Spider-Man overemployed?
Oh, in different multiverses, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
They're making their own decision. Just like taking a job, taking a second job, or taking, a job that makes you an overemployed person is your own decision.
Saving the world.
Yeah, and then you could just go back to your normal life and just be a photographer or be a super rich person like Batman.
Welcome back to the Cyber News Weekly podcast, and today we'll be talking over employment. I'm Jurgita Lapinytė, the chief editor at Cyber News. Niv Ansel is joining me today.
Hello.
And Justinas Vainilavičius joining us from his home in London to talk about overemployment. Hi, Justinas.
Hello.
So you probably know that people have been juggling jobs, especially, that trend started with the pandemic. People starting to work remotely in high numbers, right? And they essentially figured it out that, I can have way more than just one job. And so many people managed to double or even triple their incomes. There was an interview on Business Insider. This guy from California, he was interviewed and he said that he managed to get as much as $1 million a year. So that's, he tripled his income, and that meant a significant improvement for him. He was able to go on vacations where he wanted to go for a long time. He sent his kids to a private school, right?
Yeah.
So what's the first thing that you think when just having two full-time jobs? Exhausting, right?
Exhausting, absolutely exhausting. I don't know how to even manage one job half the time. And it's that kind of thing where I do think you're gonna, you said that he can enjoy vacations and, I understand wanting to send your kids to private schools and stuff. But when do you have the time if you're working 2 or 3 jobs?
For vacation.
Yeah, exactly. When do you have the time to go away and do the things that you want to do? But I don't know. I think from what I've seen, anyway, I've been scouring Reddit, and people are really interested in this kind of concept of overemployment that, started during the pandemic when people were reevaluating their career prospects and thinking about what they wanted to do with their lives. But many Redditors, especially in cybersecurity, said that they wanted to kind of diversify their skill sets and engage in different areas of cybersecurity. So they wanted to, get more remote jobs. It's interesting because I thought it would just be the financial motivation, but there are lots of people who just wanted to learn a new skill and, get a job that way.
Justinas, do you think it's possible to work 2 or even 3 full-time jobs at the same time?
Well, people say they do that, so it must be possible. And I think it's more of a problem, if you work for a company where you have a lot of free time, is it really your fault that you can do more and be more productive? Or is it, a flaw in a system? So, and I think a lot of big corporations, they don't usually really require, all 8 hours of your time. You can definitely do something else. The issue here is, of course, an ethical one, because it's not illegal in a lot of countries to be overemployed. For example, here in the UK, it's having a second job could change a worker's tax code. But, again, in bigger organizations, that largely goes unnoticed. And this is not flagged as a sign of their employee being overemployed. It's even easier in the US, where, its tax system is based on a self-assessment and voluntary reporting. So what could really get you in trouble is a contract that you have with with either of your employers. This may violate, a company's non-compete agreement. So even then, it doesn't mean you're doing anything illegal. So you won't go to jail, but this could get you fired, and it may be difficult to get a job later on because people, they talk. So you really have to weigh these specific risks. And I think if some people manage to do that, well, kudos to them. I personally couldn't do that. Also, when we discuss this topic, we should probably stress that being overemployed is different than having a second job, which is a lot of people do if they need to have their ends meet, or simply to have additional income. So having a second job doesn't mean that you're overemployed because you're doing that on your own time. So that's definitely perfectly normal, I think. And maybe some people figured out that why not do it, at the same time, and then keep my own time for myself.
It's actually wonderful that, we are, at this situation with the economy, that you can actually get like 2 or 3 jobs, and there is that money that can be earned, right? Then there's just a question whether you breach some contracts, or you get like burnout and whatnot. But it's possible, and it's it's nice to hear that someone sent his kids to private school and finally paid their debts off and whatnot. There was a monster poll last year, so of course numbers they changed this year, but 37% of respondents said that they have more than one full-time job.
Wow.
And the problem now is that employers are kind of catching up to those trends, obviously. And bunch of companies, including big ones like Meta, Disney, Walmart, Amazon, whatnot, they ended remote work kind of mostly. It's not the policy anymore. A hybrid work is a new gold standard, meaning that less people can probably have 2 full-time jobs in a comfortable manner. Of course, that's why you need to work from home, so that you can do
that.
You can
do those 2 jobs.
But also, there was this big story that we covered in June, Wells Fargo, right? A huge financial institution fired a number of people because they discovered that these employees were using like mouse jigglers, essentially just devices that would make their mouse move, and it would appear that these people
working.
But then again, and we discussed this again and again, you need to surveil your employees to see that they are not working, and and not just check their results. But the companies, they've gone so big, they don't even notice, that someone is not actually doing their job. Probably
under the radar.
There's no work maybe to do, People are just kind of, using that situation, capitalizing on it. But can this mean an end to, this golden age of overemployment? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think, I think if people are demanding that you return to the office, that makes working 2 jobs almost impossible, right? And this whole kind of overemployment did remind me of one of the articles that our contributors wrote about the mouse jigglers and workplace surveillance, because I feel like, because maybe overemployment might not be illegal, and it might be in certain areas, but kind of, can you fulfill the tasks demanded from you from having 2 full-time jobs? I don't personally think so. I think that unless, obviously every workplace is different, but unless they're really kind of lax and flexible, then I feel like it could be, it could be pretty hard. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the end, because I'm sure that people will still be working remotely in certain contexts. But
I personally don't think that this is a remote work problem. I think that, we started talking about overemployment, and a lot of people started doing that during the pandemic. When there was actually an increased demand from all these large companies for more workforce, especially as they shifted most of their operations online. So they hired so many more people, many of whom were later made redundant. So I think a lot of people just took advantage of that situation, of that uncertain situation that the pandemic brought on us. And I think both sides benefited from that. And I think that the market actually, solved that problem for us because, a job market has weakened on both sides of the Atlantic. So there are more people applying for more positions. That naturally, I think, weeds out a lot of potential prospective, over employers. So I think that this is not, I think that this problem will solve itself because it was caused by very unusual circumstances.
I don't even see it as a problem exactly. That's an opportunity, right? And given just how big some corporations are, we know that they are not really being effective, just for the task to reach a certain specialist. Sometimes it takes weeks and weeks, and like for weeks without end, a certain person could be just, coming to an office in vain, like doing nothing because, there's the whole, like socialism structure, bureaucracy, a lot of bureaucracy in big corporations and whatnot. So, maybe we as a journalist, so it's way easier. You find a story and you learn something and you write that up, right? But I think so much of what we do when we are in the office, it's supposed to not, bring you results in terms of production and productivity, but more create that kind of brainstorm, creative environment where you could grow your business. And I think that's especially important when it comes to startups and whatnot. And I do have a quote from former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, and he talked about Google, how that is, and he said that Google's decision to pay attention to work-life balance, essentially well-being of people is actually stalling the progression of the company, the innovation, and they are lagging behind in the AI game because what he said is that and the startups, the reason startups work is that people work like hell.
Yeah.
So maybe, I get it from if you are a business owner, that does make sense that you want to bring people into the office, create this nice culture where they can work, and they feel like they are part of some sort of community. It's not only a job that pays well, but at the same time, it's your business. It's not mine. I don't want to work like hell. It's not that time anymore.
Yeah, and in the context of startups, especially, I kind of saw on Reddit that people were talking about being overemployed and that they had multiple jobs as a backup because they worked at startups. So, these companies, they might not come to fruition or they might not be successful because it's never guaranteed. So in that way, I truly understand because you can't just have one stream of income that's coming from somewhere that might not be around in the next year. So it was quite interesting to observe, really.
Especially some startups like crypto ones. They used to be crazy. They would pay you like triple the salary that you could get anywhere else. But you don't know for how long it's gonna go.
Around,
It's not stable income.
Yeah, but don't you think that taking a job is taking a certain risk and taking on a responsibility? Like, yes, working in a startup may be more intense, but you're taking a risk here that, it will grow to a point where, the time you invested will pay off substantially, in terms of what you get financially. So it may not pay off, but that's the decision you made. So you could have chosen a corporate job that may not be as exciting, but is more stable. So I don't completely agree with this position. I think that just some jobs will offer greater rewards than others, but that's the risk you as a person take. I don't think that's an employer's problem.
Also, with overemployment, you could take both jobs, right? You could have a corporate one and then work on a startup and whatnot. of course, different risk,
Exactly.
different payout.
Yeah,
That's
different risk,
that's
different
quite
reward.
normal. But I also know that, especially people with like huge debts, loans for their houses, cars, studies, also a few kids, they need
Mm.
their financial
Yeah,
security.
and that's why I'm not mad at people that are overemployed. I mean, it has some ethical considerations, but they're not doing anything illegal, and they're making their own decision. Just like taking a job, taking a second job, or taking a job that makes you an overemployed person is your own decision that bears personal responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
if you get caught, you get caught. If you can manage both jobs and nobody notices, well, I'm not hating, I'm congratulating.
I would probably get the burnout just from the stress, oh, is this legal? Will I make it?
Yeah.
Am I not, overbooked on the same day with the meetings and whatnot?
You
Just
have to
things like
be
that.
super organized, surely. Really, really organized. Like you can't spend your time kind of, slacking off or doing something else. You have to be truly focused and determined to deliver on both jobs, surely. But I don't understand how you could deliver on both jobs at the same time.
Well, I think some jobs are just meetings and calls, so you can
Yeah.
probably juggle your calendar and that's it. Like a lot of jobs are just talking.
But cybersecurity, like, it's the one thing that kind of made me like think twice about over employment, because I'm not against it, but in certain contexts I just don't imagine it works. Because in cybersecurity, I feel like you've got to be really vigilant on it, and especially if you're in certain roles, to make sure that everything's running effectively. How could you do that if, like, I've seen online that people have had multiple cybersecurity jobs, and I'm thinking, is that not dangerous? I was wondering what you guys thought about that.
But there's a huge skills shortage when it comes to cybersecurity. I bet in this case, employers might even know about the arrangement. It's just that there are not enough people, and it's better to hire a like slightly tired person than have no specialist at all in some cases. Of course,
Yeah.
you don't want, burned out people to save your perimeter, but also these days there are like a lot of automated and whatnot software mechanisms that need to be put in place, and so it's not like doctors,
No, yeah.
working 24
That would be awful.
hours.
Yeah. Well, they do anyway, I guess. So, but yeah, because I was thinking about this concept of burnout, and Ernestus wrote an article saying that 17 out of 20 cybersecurity professionals experience fatigue and burnout. And I think if you're having multiple jobs, and it's kind of overemployment's great, because I feel like with the advent of AI, everybody was so concerned that we wouldn't have any jobs. So the thought of people doing multiple jobs at the same time, it's kind of great. Like, but it does make me concerned, because I think that maybe you have multiple jobs, you get stressed, you burn out, and then you don't do your job properly.
Yeah, but then again, do you get burned out and stressed because you have too many tasks? Of course, in some cases that might be true, but I know what stresses me out about, working full-time job, just one, is some things in the corporate culture and let's say meetings, right? It's too much. I don't like it. I don't think half of them bring any added value, right? And that's what gets me stressed, like some corporate details, processes, right, that I don't totally agree with. I don't think they are effective. Not the tasks and job itself, at least in my case. Of course, there are like a lot of different scenarios, but I think that and with cybersecurity personnel, I think it's being responsible for, attackers not hacking, breaching your systems. I think that's, the why they are so stressed.
Yeah, and I guess lack of resources and things like that. If there is skills shortage and there's not enough people to work, then overemployment, get more cybersecurity jobs. Why not, I guess. Maybe I've flip-flopped. I've changed my mind now.
I think, yeah, again, just to echo what you said here, overemployment is great because people can, well, earn money, go to vacations they want, and in addition, they can diversify their skill set, which is even better, like for their career and whatnot. And I don't think that's a real threat to employers. The real threat is the stories like we talked about in last week's podcast, right? When people like companies try to hire remote workers, and it turns out, that's just North Korean, because North Korea dispatches so many workers overseas. They steal identities of Americans and other nationalities. They, get employed somewhere in the US, in the UK, elsewhere in Europe, getting paid and then sending that money to the regime. So that's one danger,
For sure.
deep faking interviews and whatnot. And also they get corporate computers that they can infect. And I think that's, where companies that still offer fully remote positions should focus, not on people who honestly want to work two jobs.
Agreed.
It's not illegal.
No, and I think, it's focusing more on the actual problem and the people that are actually exploiting that system that is most important, other than people who, maybe they're not fulfilling the job 100% all of the time, but who is? I don't know. I am, but anyway. But yeah, I don't know.
I'll check.
Yeah, check. Keep me accountable. I'm 100% on it all the time. But yeah, I think if people honestly want to work, and especially in cybersecurity, when there's a lack of people available, then yeah, sure, why not? I've really flip-flopped. I really changed my mind.
I just want to go on vacation all the time, work, but to just some extent, I think free time is
Little vacation?
Little vacation, yeah.
Nice.
I want to travel.
Would you like to be overemployed, Justinas?
No. I think as I said, I don't judge people who do that. I think that it's a matter of ethics, and not even in all cases necessarily. But I think that, well, I do have additional income from things that I do on my own time from my primary job, right? But I do that on my own time, and I took that on myself. I disclosed my work arrangements with both with whoever I work with. So I think it's different, and I think that some areas, some professions are more lenient on this. You mentioned cybersecurity, but I think it's very common in the media as well. I think it may be common in consulting. Not sure, about medical professionals, but I know people who work in different medical establishments. They may work, in a general practitioner's one day and go to a private clinic the other day. So that's common, but I'm not sure if that could be considered overemployment or just having a second job. So that's my position.
This is such a nasty term, like overemployment. Now that I think that we should
change it,
coin a different term here.
I think the corporations came up with it to portray it as a negative thing. But I think, if something's not illegal, it's not necessarily, good, but vice versa is also true.
We should call it extra employment, maybe. A little bit of extra employment. Why not? Slap a bit more of extra employment
I like
on there.
the job juggling. And I think that, people need to find a way how to do that so that they don't get stressed and burn out, and they get the max out of the situation, for probably it could be just temporary, they just need to fulfill some roles and pay off their debts, and that's called juggling some jobs.
From what I've been reading and from people that they know that did that in the past, no, but it was never a long-term solution. It would usually So I know some people that did that, as we talked during the pandemic, because I think a lot of people realized at the time that you are easily replaceable, and that your employer will not bat an eyelid if they need to fire you. So this I think a lot of people got rid of this misplaced loyalty, and realized that it should go both ways. Because as I mentioned before, companies started hiring more, but only when they were sure that there's an increased demand. Because initially, a lot of people in a lot of sectors were laid off during the pandemic, and a lot of employees were told that you may be next. If we have to, we will do it. And then I think it's just hypocritical to expect your employee to think of your best interests and not of their own best interests.
I agree. And I think by being extra employed, I think you take control over your employment. Like you take it back because I feel like maybe in corporate settings, there's this kind of, I don't know, power disparity or whatever. And it may feel sometimes to some people that your boss or whoever is governing you, the company has ownership over you in a sense. I don't know, maybe some people think like that. I've read a few things about that, but it lets you take control and have agency over your career, and I think that's interesting. You're not putting all of your eggs in one basket.
I think this power disparity issue has been changing, and now even when I entered into an agreement with this company, I felt that I do have a negotiation power. It's not like I'm, subverting, it's equal contract, right? I give you my time and my skills and my resources, and in return they would provide me with salary, some other benefits. But I never felt that I'm afraid to lose my job or something like that. That's a contract that if we both no longer feel comfortable with, it's okay. We can finish it off, right? And I know that, it depends. If you have, again, more loans, debts, kids, you might feel a bit in a different way. But definitely having either side hustles or another full-time job helps you to get rid of this stress, just being afraid to lose your job, because that would mean that, okay, will I have a place to live? Like, what does it mean for my family, let's say? And definitely that way you can innovate better. You can speak up when you see something, some abuse, exploit in the company. You can speak up for the injustice that you see when you are not afraid to lose your income because you have, let's say, diversified it, right?
And we've seen that in tech, like, for example, OpenAI, people were, that was for other reasons other than that, but people weren't able to speak up and they had to leave. And hopefully they are extra employed, because, that would really suck. But I was wondering, what famous people do you feel are overemployed? Do you know of any? Because I was thinking Spider-Man. Is Spider-Man overemployed?
Oh, in different multiverses, yes, definitely.
Yeah, because he's living like a double life, and I feel like people who are overemployed also lead a double life if they're doing separate jobs that are maybe almost completely different from one another.
That's a very funny point, actually, Nick. Because he's, in real life, he's a photographer, right? And, and he has this, he's totally overemployed. All superheroes are overemployed because they have, a front, and they have something they do behind that front as well.
Now I think overemployment is cool. I like it.
Yeah, but also, again, I just want to get back to that term. It just reflects the type of contract, because surely you can, like, let's say if you're an actor, so you don't have like 9-to-5 jobs, you have like just a lot of hustles, and you just have to properly manage them time-wise, right? And that's it. This is just overemployment that, if I have 2 contracts, the same type of contracts means that I'm overemployed. But that just reflects the types of contracts that I have, not what I do,
Yeah.
Since you mentioned actors, there is this issue that at least some Hollywood actors, they usually don't take on another job because they have scheduling conflicts. So if they're usually filming for one project, they're usually dedicating that time entirely to that one project. But I guess you can it depends on a contract. And that may be true, in other areas as well.
Yeah, they do work in projects rather than just contracts.
Yeah.
At least quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I would like to be overemployed in that way, just going from one multiverse, one planet to another, saving the world.
Yeah, and then you could just go back to your normal life and just be a photographer or be a super rich person like Batman. And did Batman have another job?
Although you barely see, them doing their day jobs when they're on their superhero duties.
Oh, then we need to get into consulting, because that's just you just share your knowledge. That's the job I would like to do, not actually doing hands-on tasks, but just advice.
Just consulting.
Nice. I can consult and advise.
Nice.
Okay, so that's it for today's podcast. We go back to work.
Yes.
Thank you guys for listening. Please like and subscribe if you liked it, and leave a comment so we could improve. I was Jurgita. I still am chief editor here at Cyber News. Great website.
Yeah, check it out.
Check it out. Thanks, Neve.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.